Welcome back to Anxiety Makes Me Poop. How's everybody doing this Sunday morning? Before we get into today's topic, which will be quick, I just have to say something about Cass. And she doesn't quite know I'm going to volunteer her for this. I have to get her permission, but let's hope, fingers crossed, right? So I want to start a little series on this show where Cass just shares what she's been learning about type 2 diabetes. It's only been about 4 weeks, but the amount that she has learned already is honestly incredible. Suddenly she knows things about blood sugar spikes, hidden sugars in foods. That's a huge one. Nutrition labels, and it's unbelievable. So I think it's going to be really, really cool if every once in a while we just had a segment where she shares one thing she learned from the week. Like, for example, this morning, I texted her and I said, hey, I really am trying to be better in the morning, but sometimes before a run or before I record or before I work, I'm a little bit hungry, but I don't want a full-on breakfast because then I'm too full. Then I either don't want to work out or I get tired for working. So I said, what I have been doing is having like a dried mango, just one dried mango that I get from Costco or something like that, just to kind of kick everything into gear and not have that stomach kind of ache, in the morning, but I'm still not ready for a full breakfast. And she said that's actually perfect. And then just mix it in with some cashews or some nuts. So she has learned so much. And I think these kind of things would be amazing for all of us to learn. And hopefully she'll do it. Maybe she'll listen to this and then text me and be like, yes, we can totally do that. But there's a lot of people out there living with type 2 diabetes that may not know, but maybe we could just do a class here. So Cass, if you're listening, let's start a new segment of everything you've been learning because I appreciate it. Now, I don't have type 2 diabetes, but already from hearing what she's been doing these past 3 weeks, already I'm changing the way I look at food and what I'm selecting for meals. It's unbelievable. So I think you might love it too. So anyways, we will see how that goes. Now, to the topic. I'm going to say that I am convinced 90%, probably 100% of the emails and messages that we get for Anxiety Makes Me Poop is either AI generated or written by a salesperson, which, first of all, I have no problem with anything AI or salespeople. And when I say AI, I mean like we use ChatGPT and Pilot and Copilot and all that to research, but then we go and do more research, right? Go to the library or, look something up differently online before we speak on it. So I have I don't have any problems with anyone using ChatGPT or anything AI to try and find some information and then doing their own own search too. And I have no problems with salespeople. Okay, let's just get that right out there. Anyways, I feel when we get the emails or the messages though, all of them have the exact same formula and I immediately delete them because I know it's not real. Like for example, they say, hey, I was just listening to episode number 131. It already makes me suspicious because when a real listener reaches out, they say, love your podcast and everything you're doing. Could you please talk about? The AI generated or the salespeople say, hey, I was just listening to number 131. And they immediately say something like, I noticed your podcast doesn't have many listeners on YouTube, or your YouTube channel doesn't have many followers, or I noticed that your audience is low. First of all, you can't see our audience except for on YouTube. You can see the views on there. And we only have 22 followers or something on there because we don't do videos yet. And we will be. So you can't see how many listeners we have on our podcast. That's for me. I get the stats on our Captivate website. So you can't see it. So right away I'm thinking, well, you don't know. So shut up, right? And then right after that, they say, but don't worry, I can help you grow your show. First of all, I didn't ask for that. We have thousands and thousands of people. Oh my gosh, Cass's episode from 2 weeks ago got so many downloads. We were in the green, like 3,000% week over week, month over month. It was unbelievable. We have no problem getting listeners, especially when the topic is as fabulous as Cass. Okay. But they immediately insult as a bold marketing strategy. That's like walking into someone's house and say, wow, nice place. It's a shame that you have an ugly living room. Do you want me to redecorate it? Like, what are we doing here? So the whole point is you may technically be offering help. Now we'll go out of the AI and out of the salesman offerings, and we're going to go into regular life and regular work life. The first thing the person heard is an insult. Like, for example, I noticed you're out of shape. Good news, I'm a personal trainer. Why would you do that in real life? If you wouldn't do that in real life, why would you do that in an email? Why would you insult someone's business or insult their look or insult their views or insult what they're doing? That's crazy to me. And that's the thing about human psychology. Our brains are wired to hear criticism way louder than anything else, most days. The moment someone points out what we're doing wrong, the rest of the conversation gets filtered through that feeling. And so for me, I immediately delete it because I know that they're full of shit. Excuse my language on a Sunday. So even if the help is legitimate, it just feels condescending. Like, we only have 22 followers on YouTube. We have not focused on YouTube. We only focus on our podcast on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else that you can listen. Even on our website, you can listen. And honestly, it's not about the AI emails or the sales pitches. It's what happens in real life too. Because we have become so romanticized and accustomed to this kind of talk I feel like that's how we are in real life. People want to help, but they lead with criticism instead of respect. There's a huge difference between saying, your podcast doesn't have many listeners, or saying, I listened to your show and really loved the conversation you had about type 2 diabetes, we'll say. If you ever want ideas on growing your audience, I'm happy to share some, but you let me know. It's the exact same offer, but maybe I would continue reading the email. Maybe. It's just a little bit of a different emotional reaction that you get when you read something like that. Like, you could have more listeners. You could be better. Okay, well, we're doing the best that we can. So immediate delete, right? This also reminds me of a few years ago, well, actually many, many years ago, when I used to do craft shows. So if you've ever been a vendor at a craft show, I think you probably know what I'm talking about. So you spend hours, weeks, months, sometimes creating these products that are one of a kind or that you know people will love, right? In your heart and in your soul, you're like, I'm just going to sell it all. You've put real thought and creativity and honestly a lot of heart into what you're selling, a lot of soul, tears, sweat, whatever. You got a craft room, you're painting or you're baking or whatever it is that you do to sell at this one craft show. Or maybe you do a few of them throughout the year. You set up your table at this craft show, you're super excited, and people start walking by. And most people are wonderful. But every once in a while, someone walks up, picks up something, looks at it, then critiques it like they're a judge on a reality show. Or they say something like, oh, I don't like this color. Or why would someone make it this way? I have heard that. Or one of my favorites was, I would never buy something like this. Yeah. Yep. And I always remember thinking, okay, I didn't ask. So, thanks. It's such a strange thing because nobody walks into a bakery, points out a cake, and loudly announces, I hate chocolate cake. They just don't buy the chocolate cake. You don't go through the grocery store and look at some chips and say, I hate barbecue chips, and announce it to the whole store. You just don't. Why would you do that at a vendor show? Why would you do that to an artist? Why would you do that in an email to a podcast host? Why would you do that to someone you work with or a loved one? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do it. And that feeling hits harder because when you create something or when you build a report or when you do something, craft, project, product, podcast, anything creative, there's a piece of you in it. You spend time on it. You care about it. And then someone just casually criticizes it out loud, someone that knows nothing about what you're doing, and it surprisingly feels very personal. I was actually talking with someone recently who sells a product in stores, and they told me this same exact thing happens to them. They've put their heart and soul in it, and people will literally pick it up and say things like, no way, I hate this. Or why would anyone want this? Or why would anyone want to do this? Or this is too healthy, or ugh, I hate blah, 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 right? And it made me think, you don't know who you're talking to. Like, for example, yesterday I was at a demo show at a store. It was so much fun. Everyone that I was around, it was like a party. We had music going. I was making grilled cheese. People were, there were owners. So I'm just a third party, but there were owners around me celebrating their new product and wanting people to try it. Like, hey, I'm in stores. One was only a few weeks in. They just want to, share that they're here and this is what they did. And the stories behind these products are amazing. So, but I heard people walk up and say, ew, no, I would never buy that. Not liking something is completely fine. It's so fine. Nobody likes everything, right? But there's a huge difference between expressing your preference and tearing down something someone really worked hard on. And even if you didn't know that they were the owner, right? You don't know. You still are kind. You're shopping and enjoying your weekend, and these people are working their weekend. So if we could remember that, that would be nice. Now, I had all very kind people, or maybe I'm numb to it because I've been doing this fairly often lately, and it was just like, whatever, move on, But my heart went out to these owners when people would just pass by. Some people wouldn't even say anything. Hey, would you like to try some? And people would just walk past like you didn't even talk to them. There was no thanks or, oh, no, not today, thank you. There was no like a pause to look at what they're selling or anything like that. They just kept walking. Again, which is totally fine. My heart went out to the owners though, because I was like, oh, they just walked past, and I get it. Now, not because I guess because I'm the owner of a podcast, and it makes me sad when people want to give me critiques and stuff like that, but not really sad, more like, I don't know. It's kind of along the same line. You get me, whatever. Anyways, can we be a little kinder? Can we be kinder? As always, I'm rambling, but really, there's just so much to say on this. There's a huge difference between expressing your preference to something or tearing down someone, whether you know the person or not. You can easily just say, thank you, but not today. Or thank you, but no thanks, or you don't have to critique. You don't have to have any type of commentary. You don't have to do any kind of accidental insult. Like there was a brand across from me that he had one main ingredient. We'll just say it was oranges, okay? It was one main ingredient. And someone would walk by and he would say, would you like to try this? And they would look and they'd be like, absolutely not. I hate oranges. No problem. No problem. I get it. You hate oranges. But what they could have just said is, oh, no thanks, and kept walking. Like it made, and it's funny because what he told me was it makes him feel bad that he used that as a base for that one person that didn't like oranges. It's like, but he shouldn't have had to feel that way. He had a dream and he went with the dream and it was accepted and now he's selling it, So just appreciation for someone's effort would be amazing. It could really make a difference. And if you're listening to this episode, it's because you do want to make a difference in this world. You do, right? And then think about the people that are behind the scenes, like me making grilled cheese, or the person selling their orange drink, or the other person selling her fabulous stuff. There's a story behind it all. Just appreciate that they're there working on a Saturday while you get to enjoy your Saturday off, right? If we just looked at people for an extra second longer and thought, I'm appreciating that these people are here doing this. Because if it was my company, I would want someone pleasant out there doing this. That person behind the table, that person at the craft show, they put a lot of thought, idea. Oh my gosh, the project probably had so much heart woven into it that we just will never realize. And you know what? The world could probably just use a little more thank you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all your stuff. I practice that. I'm just one more thing. We're going to ramble just a little bit longer. Don't shut it off. There is a craft show around the holidays every year that we go to. It's at a church that I grew up in. And many of the things I go for because the people are So talented. And then there are some other things that I won't buy. Just, there's like a jam and jelly section, but it, unfortunately it has a lot of sugar, so I wouldn't buy it. But guess what? I pause and I look. And do you know, every year I ask, do you have any sugar-free options? And they say, oh, we don't know because we want, with the preservatives and that kind of thing. But I ask every year just in case they've created something that I could buy because their display is so fabulous. And so when they say that, I say, oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm just going to look around, and I take just a couple seconds because guess what? If I'm at a craft show, I have time to look. I'm not rushing through like I'm grocery shopping. It's a day. It's an outing. You're appreciating the artists. Let's just say that too. Anyways, I look around and, maybe it's the artist in me as well. I look at their display. Like, how are they setting things up? How are things looking? And I just tell them, thanks so much for being here again this year. And they go, oh, thank you. You come every year? And it starts just a nice conversation. Now, I don't get in the way of other shoppers. That's another thing. I don't stand in front of the table and have a long conversation with them if there's other shoppers next to me that are going to buy, So just be thoughtful. Say thanks for being here. I've noticed you here the past couple years. Or if you truly are, like I am, truly interested in if they've created a sugar-free option, then I do ask every year, is there a sugar-free option this year? No. Oh, no problem. Everything looks beautiful. Thanks so much. And then you move on to the next table. That's it. If every single person did that, you know how great that day would be for that vendor or that person behind the table? Let's make a difference, people. Let's say thank you. Go through a drive-thru. Everyone loves coffee. Well, I love coffee. Say thank you. Have a good day. Pause a moment. I know everybody's busy. Everybody loves coffee. Everybody loves, not everybody, but you know what I mean. Teas, hot chocolates, whatever. Take a moment and say thanks. Have a great day. Let's make a difference in this world. What do you think? Practice it. All right. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.